If you were the owner of an R1100RT or an R1150RT and you would like to replace your alternator belt, this front cover needs to be removed. However, you cannot fit it out and remove it from the bike without removing another part. You're going to look at this and say, okay, I can take this piece off and then slide it out. You actually cannot. In order to get the lower bolt out of this trim panel bracket, you have to remove the exhaust. However, if you go to the right side, you can take these two bolts out. Be mindful of the metal spacers behind the bracket, between the bracket and the engine. Now you can lift, after you take your 4 screws out of the front cover, you can turn it and remove it this way. As we see here, this belt has seen better days, and this bike has 45,000 miles on it. This breaks the record for early belt failures, in my shop anyway. I've seen these go to 50,000, 52,000. I haven't seen one fail this early. They're supposed to be changed at 36. I usually push them to 48. This certainly is going to make me rethink that plan. So if you're stuck on the side of the road, that's the way to get the cover off. You should probably practice that at home at some point, and keep an eye on the belt. We have an issue where this belt broke, that part of the belt is trapped under the back of the pulley where the hall unit is. Hopefully the hall sensor is not damaged. Some of these pulleys were not tack welded together properly. The wheel that the hall sensor reads from is supposed to be tack welded to the alternator belt pulley. Sometimes they weren't welded good and they fall apart when you take them apart. But it's going to take us a little bit longer because we're going to have to remove that pulley to get the rest of the belt out, and we have little chunks here. I don't want any of those trapped in the back under the hall unit. And theoretically, if a little piece was there and was spinning around, it could cause a bad reading, which could cause the engine to stall or fire at the wrong time. I don't know. But we need to check that out. So hopefully there's no damage underneath, and we can just get a new belt on here and proceed with the rest of the service. The air filter is clean. We are going to be replacing the fuel filter, engine oil filter, transmission rear drive. This just had a clutch a little while ago, so it shouldn't need clutch fluid, but we're going to inspect the condition of the fluid because it was several months ago. And spark plugs will be replaced, tire pressures checked, brake pad condition checked, throttle body synchronized, etc., etc., etc. It's a pretty extensive service. That was incredible that this even ran. You can see here, the belt is in between where the pickup is for the hall sensor, and the wheel runs in between here. And we have the same thing up top. Damn. that stayed glued together. These cutouts are what the or cutout, sorry, is what the hall sensors read. Don't really see any damage to it. It's a little scuffed up, but that's not an issue. So we should be able to clean this out good. It's going to take a little bit. There's a lot of rubber filings everywhere, as you can see, all built up here, down here. So we clean all that out with compressed air and brake clean. There's quite a bit of rubber in the front of the alternator as well. But get it all cleaned up and put a new belt on, properly adjusted. And we should be in good shape. The adjustment is actually here. If you see that bolt right there, there's actually a torque setting for this, and that's how it's adjusted. We'll get to that in a few minutes once this is cleaned up. Your R1150 will use one of two alternator belts. There is a standard one and a longer one. The standard one ends with 841 in the part number. If your alternator is loose and it's dropped all the way down and the 841 belt does not fit, then you need 779, which, as you see here on the left, is considerably longer than the 841. Don't be fooled into thinking that you have to buy either of these from BMW. While I do not have an aftermarket part number for the 779 belt at the moment, you have numerous options if you have the 841 belt. Continental makes them. Goodyear makes them. Gates makes them. Dayco also makes them. Don't worry about the different shapes of the inside of the belt. As we see, this is a standard ribbed. This one's got some funky knobby tire pattern. The Gates is ribbed. The Dayco is ribbed and cogged. You can find these for far less money than what you're going to pay from BMW. And you notice BMW is a Conti belt anyway. For crazy money from BMW, because they're greedy. So at this point we're going to see which belt fits on here, and then I will cover how to properly torque these. This particular bike took the 841 belt, though we didn't use that. I'm using the Dayco Polycog belt. Probably hard to see in the video, but I have marked it with the mileage, date, where it was changed, etc. Now, to adjust these properly, you don't just cram a screwdriver or a pry bar in there and reef up on the alternator. That actually ends up over tightening it. You use a torque wrench set to reverse so that you're turning this screw counterclockwise. Yes, sounds goofy. And it's set to 8 Newton meters. And it clicks. Go up and down a little bit. Yep. Click right there. Now you secure one of the mounting bolts, one of the 3, and torque that to 20 Newton meters. It's a long road, but we'll get there someday. Okay. There we go. And And now we torque the other two. And you'll notice you don't need a whole lot of tension. Well, actually, it's going to have less tension on it than you would probably think. Go ahead with that. Actually, you're going to have to do that from this side. It's kind of hard from doing it over there. And that's it. So now we're going to torque the last two bolts, and the cover will be replaced. And that's it. Actually, the top one you're probably not going to be able to get to it with a torque wrench with the shock in the way. So you get an idea once you've tightened these two of how tight it should be. Do the same with a wrench on the top, and you're done.